Okay, picture this. An independent journalist flies to the Netherlands, gains access to NATO's inner sanctum, and prepares to ask one question that would expose the entire operation. The question corporate media would never dare to ask. A question about billions in weapons deals disguised as peace initiatives, about Ukraine's irreversible path to NATO membership, Putin's ultimate red line. But when the moment comes, the truth could finally confront power, something happens. The microphone never reaches him. The question goes unasked. We're going to get to that. Now, here's the hard truth. Every 6 years, your dollar loses half its buying power. That means $100,000 savings today could feel like $50,000 by 2031. And you see it every time you fill up your tank, buy groceries, or pay the bills. Prices are up, dollars are down. But there's a simple way you can protect the value of your savings with something real, something proven. Gold. An asset that holds its value over time, over millennia. That's why I trust Noble Gold Investments. When I make enough money to hire them, believe me, I will be going to Noble Gold Investments. They make it simple to protect your savings with physical gold or silver. No high-pressure sales, no call centers, just honest guidance, one-on-one support. And transparent pricing too. And right now, when you open a qualified account, Noble Gold will send you a free 10-ounce silver American flag bar as a thank you. Head to nextnewsgold.com today to learn more. That's nextnewsgold.com. Don't just protect your wealth, preserve its power. Now, while world leaders were gathered in the Netherlands for what they called a peace summit, our lead anchor was there with one burning question, a question that would expose the entire charade. Watch as Gary, the great Gary Franchi, reveals what really happened behind closed doors at NATO headquarters. Check it out.
So we just had breakfast and we were kind of reflecting on this whole experience. And I was kind of upset. Like, man, I came all this way and didn't get to ask my question. And my question revolved around the fact that here we have NATO and the European partners pledging billions more dollars to Ukraine and painting that as like this big, great thing. And then you have the head of NATO, Mark Rutte. I just learned how to pronounce his name correctly. Saying there's an irreversible path to bring Ukraine into NATO, right? That's the red line. That's the red line. That's one of the main things that Putin has been pissed off about. And I'm not a Putin apologist. I don't want to see these people fighting at all. But when you have Ukraine inching closer and closer to NATO membership, and you have Zelensky in the freaking family photos, like he's in every family photo. He's up on stage. He's begging for money. And it's like, so my question for Trump was like, if all this is happening and NATO's got all this stuff going on and they want to bring Ukraine in to spend more money, where's their path to peace? Where's their off ramp? There isn't one. It's just spend more money. Feed the military industrial complex. That's all it is. And that's all I heard in this entire trip was we need to spend more money, develop more weapons, and use this as an opportunity to continue to expand military influence. So my question for Trump was this. If they're going to pledge all this money and they're going to have all this endless war with no off-ramp, is NATO's path truly, is it towards peace or is it towards feeding the global military industrial complex? Which one is it? Because President Trump has a plan. Trump's plan was to introduce the mineral deal with Ukraine so that they could have a interest inside of Ukraine. The United States would have an interest, a vested interest in seeing those minerals extracted so that they could have payback for the billions of dollars that we've spent, but at least there's something there that creates a diplomacy and an economic engine that is not revolving around war. And that's the only thing that President Trump was providing. But all NATO was providing was more money for Ukraine, endless war, feeding the military-industrial complex with no path to peace. So which one is it, right? So as I'm sitting here thinking, like, man, that's the question I wanted to ask. And I shared that with a friend, and they're like, man, that's a question that nobody would ask. Now, even though I was so far back in that room and I didn't get to ask that question, the fact that we are here, like, I can be upset about not being able to ask the question, but the reality is the fact that we are here, independent journalists, truly. I mean, we didn't come here with the backing of CNN and MSNBC and massive corporate overlords. We didn't come here with any of that. We came here because we're funded by you, by the people. We did a fundraiser. We needed to raise $25,000 for this trip. We raised $2,000. So we are massively in the hole right now. And that's just what it is. It is what it is. But the reality is that we are here. We have been in communication with the White House. We have been, like, literally talking back and forth through email chains, emailing NATO. Like, we're going back and forth. All this stuff is happening only because President Trump made it happen. He opened the door for people like me, independent, free, and true media, to have a seat at the table where it was never, ever possible before. So while I may be upset that I didn't get to ask that question, I got to look at the bigger picture. I got to pull it back and say, well, you know what? Here we are. We are here. We are in the Netherlands. We went to The Hague. We went to the NATO summit. We had Secret Service press badges. We were in the motorcade of diplomats going to the summit. I mean, we were under Secret Service protection because President Trump values our voice. Now, even though our voice may not have been heard in that room, even though I was begging to ask my question, our voice is heard here. And that's all that matters. That's the big picture. So the takeaway when we come back isn't that I didn't get to ask the question. It's that I got to have a seat at the freaking table where there was never, ever a chance before. And that is why we are so thankful for President Trump and the work that he's doing in this country, in the world, and for people like me and people like you to have an opportunity to see and hear the truth unfiltered. Got it.
There it is, folks. The question that NATO did or didn't want answered, we don't know. But the fact of the matter is that we were there. And if there were ever a time to send in these super chats, drop them in there right now. This whole entire operation completely depends on you. You know, the question that we wanted to ask is their path truly towards peace or just feeding a global military industrial complex? Think about what Gary just revealed. NATO is pledging billions more to Ukraine while pushing for irreversible membership, the exact red line that Putin has warned about for years. No off-ramp, no peace negotiations, just Zelensky sort of traipsing around the world, begging other countries for money and disrespecting the United States and our president, the global hegemon. I mean, he appears to be using anti-Russian sentiments to fund his own war machine. You know, Ukraine isn't even a member of NATO. Ukraine isn't even an official American ally. He's not in a position to negotiate, so he's using his celebrity to keep the gravy train flowing, but with no real off-ramp. Did we memory hole the fact that Ukraine is almost as corrupt as Russia? Just endless wars and endless profits for weapons manufacturers. You know, Gary's right. This wasn't a peace summit. It was a fundraising gala for the military-industrial machine. Now watch President Trump explain his completely different approach, one that actually creates economic partnerships instead of perpetual conflict. This is the alternative vision NATO desperately wants to suppress. Take a look.
Mr. President, a leading global economist just did a 180 and says your tariff plan, you may have outsmarted everybody with it. What is your message?
I love this. I love this question. This is the favorite. This is the best question I've ever been asked because I've been going through abuse for years on this.
But Mr.
Because as you know, we're taking in hundreds of billions of dollars, no inflation whatsoever.
But Mr. President, what is your message to critics who think your tariff plan will cause a recession?
I think they should go back to business school. It's so obvious. It's so obvious. I mean, we're taking in billions and billions of dollars from China and a lot of other countries.
Gregorio Heiss from Congress just sent in a $20 super chat, and we are so grateful for that. Thank you so much. The best question I've ever asked, that's what Trump said. And he's right, because it exposes the truth about his economic strategy versus their war strategy. President Trump's mineral deal with Ukraine isn't just brilliant, it's revolutionary. Instead of sending billions for weapons that fuel conflict, he's proposing economic engagement that creates actual prosperity for both countries. Ukraine has trillions in untapped minerals. America needs those resources. There's no doubt about it. It's a partnership that will build wealth, not graveyards. But the warmongers hate it because peace doesn't pay their bills. Here's Trump making it crystal clear: promises made, promises kept. While NATO schemes for more war, he is delivering on every single campaign pledge. Take a look.
The day I signed this bill into law, almost every major promise made in the 2024 campaign already will have become a promise kept. And that's very important. Promises made, promises kept.
Every major promise from 2024 already becoming a reality. That's leadership, not war profiteering. And the economic impact of Trump's approach versus NATO's endless war machine? Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent lays out exactly what real diplomacy looks like. Pay attention to how different this is from NATO's approach.
Look, Maria, this is what leadership looks like under President Trump. We've got peace deals, we got trade deals, we got tax deals, and in dealing with the world's second largest economy, we approached each other with mutual respect. President Trump set the table with a very important call with Party Chair Xi. They have a very good relationship. We had trade talks in Geneva. Toward moving toward the agreement in London. Part of the agreement was tariffs coming down and rare earth magnets starting to flow back to the U.S. They formed the core of a lot of our industrial base. They were not flowing as fast as previously agreed. President Trump and President Xi had a phone call, and then our teams met in London, ironed this out. And I am confident now that we, as agreed, the magnets will flow. In the meantime, we had put countermeasures versus the Chinese in place. We had held back the vital supplies for them. So what we're seeing here is a de-escalation under President Trump's leadership.
All right, we've got de-escalation under President Trump's leadership. That's what terrifies the military-industrial complex. Look at the numbers Trump policies will deliver. 7 million new jobs, 3.1% economic growth, 15% tax reduction for typical Americans, and $13,000 more in take-home pay for families. Compare that to NATO's plans. Billions for bombs, no exit strategy, and American taxpayers footing the bill while defense contractors get rich. Take a look.
And according to the Council of Economic Advisors, these reforms will protect or create more than 7 million jobs, add 3.1% to economic growth, reduce taxes for the typical American by nearly 15%, and increase take-home pay for the normal family of four by at least $13,000. And that takes place immediately. That's not bad, right? Look, I'm looking at that guy back there, right? That's pretty good.
I'll tell you, historians are going to have a really interesting job in the way that they handle President Trump. After Jesus, he's turning out to be the most consequential person in human history. The contrast between Trump and most world leaders couldn't be more clear. NATO offers endless wars with no victory conditions. When these people, nobody knows who these NATO people are. They're going to be lost in history. Trump is offering economic partnerships that create prosperity. I'm telling you, this man will be remembered until the end of time. NATO wants Ukraine as a permanent excuse to print money for weapons. Trump wants Ukraine as a trading partner that enriches both nations. One path leads to body bags. The other path leads to jobs. If you got value from this report, tap subscribe. My final thought is next. Now, when historians look back at this moment, the crossroads between peace and perpetual war, they won't remember the NATO bureaucrats who tailored suits or the empty speeches from European technocrats. They're going to remember the man who shattered the illusion. President Donald J. Trump didn't just confront NATO, he exposed it. He ripped off the mask of a global cartel that cloaks war in the language of peace and allyship, revealing it for what it is, a billion-dollar racket fueled by endless conflict, not resolution. While NATO wrote checks for weapons, Trump proposed contracts for minerals. While NATO funneled billions into bombs, Trump offered deals that created jobs. While NATO tightened the noose of war around Ukraine's neck, Trump offered the olive branch of economic prosperity. This is what makes Trump the most consequential world leader in modern history, perhaps ever. He defied the warmongers. He broke their business model. And he proved, once again, that real leadership doesn't come from inside of a boardroom in Brussels. It comes from a businessman who put America first and peace before profit. We were at NATO. We saw it all. The truth is now out there, and the legacy is now being written by results, not rhetoric. History will remember Trump not as a participant in global groupthink, but as the architect of a brand new doctrine. Strength through sovereignty, peace through prosperity, and a total rejection of the war-for-profit model that has dominated our foreign policy for decades. This is not just consequential. This is revolutionary. It's a new day. And don't forget to check out our merch shop, link below. Wear your independence proudly. That's shop.nextnewsnetwork.com.